Hello, cigar people. As you can see, you get the same old me in front of the same old wall. You know, everything's normal. I was going to do this out and about. Actually, I was going to do this while fishing, but the fishing didn't happen because of an equipment problem. So you're getting this review done sitting on my porch, as I usually do. Today, we have Drew Estate Undercrown Shade. I did the Undercrown Maduro. Now I'm going to do the shade, which is a Connecticut shade wrapper. This is, like I said, the sister cigar to the Maduro, um, but Connecticut, which sometimes I like, sometimes I don't. But we'll see. We'll see what we have here. Yeah, it smells like a bit of light, like a Connecticut usually does. Some sweetness, some spice, and some vanilla. Definitely some vanilla on there. Nice, nice dry inhale. Um, let's light this puppy and see what we got. A stronger than normal nose tingle, but a very full and creamy mouthfeel. Spice, earth tones, just a touch of sweetness, like I said, like the vanilla. Definitely comes off as a Connecticut right away, and I don't know. I'll be honest. First couple puffs are for me just a cigar, but it may just be that it's a Connecticut, and I haven't really gotten into it yet. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see what they have to say about it on the website. When the original Undercrown Maduro was born on the factory floor, we knew we needed to share it with the world. But the story doesn't end there. Our rollers continued to innovate and blend cigars that demanded a stage, and soon they crafted the blend that would be dubbed Undercrown Shade. Crafted with the same spirit as the original Undercrown Maduro, the Undercrown Shade delivers a creamier profile without losing the body of the original. The result is smooth as butter. Undercrown Shade explores notes of vanilla, caramel, and pepper throughout the burn. Light one up and treat yourself to the shade that uh, Boncheros and Roleros love. The wrapper is Ecuadorian Connecticut shade, the binder is Sumatra, and the filler is Dominican and Nicaraguan. Medium body and creamy and balanced earth, vanilla, caramel, and pepper. So, in my first conversation bit, I indicated that I was with a group called the Cigar Hacks at one point, and hinted that there was a story behind that. And so here is my story of being a one time part of the Cigar Hacks. So the Cigar Hacks are a bunch of guys that started out with a group of about don't know, 7 or 8 guys who just started getting together and having cigars together, and then they started talking about cigars, and then they put together a podcast. So they have had 433 consecutive weeks of a podcast being released uh, from them. They are, as of right now, the longest running podcast in the world, as far as I know, with 433 consecutive releases. They've never missed a week and never had an issue. But, anyways, so I met these guys one night at a local cigar bar named Castro's, and they seemed like a good bunch of guys. There was one guy, Rick. Uh, he's kind of the face of the cigar hacks, I guess you could call him, because there's no real structure in them. Anyways, he's very outgoing, uh, very gregarious. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. There were other guys, Dave and Pat, and some others. Reverend, God bless him, and God rest his soul. Anyways, I saw them in a couple different places, a couple different cigar bars over the few months. This was probably in late summer of 23. Uh, I actually, before I was a member, I wound up on one of their podcasts as a guest just for fun. Uh, but by the end of 23, I believe in December of 2023, I was officially voted in as one of the Sky Hack. And for the next year and a half, I was a member. Now, I appeared on several podcasts, most of the ones in that year and a half or so. Uh, attended pretty much all the events. But there were some things that happened that put me on bad footing with what they call the OG, the old guys, the old guard. Uh, Another gentleman and I, Chuck, what was his name, a friend of mine. Uh, we had the desire, fortitude to speak our minds, to be very vocal, very whatever. We were not part of the old guard, but we were still vocal and demonstrative and tried to be part of the group. And apparently, some of the old guard didn't like that. For the next year and a half or so in the hacks, I enjoyed my time there. I was vocal about things that the club was doing or whatnot. I did have one small problem though. I was unemployed and I didn't have much money, and therefore I could not do anything financially to help out the club. Each podcast we reviewed a cigar, and someone always bought those cigars to review. And usually it was one of the old G's, but every now and then it was someone else. And I never bought any because I never had the money to buy 10, 10 or so cigars. I know that did not go over well. Also, I was, like I said, very vocal about my opinions and about my ideas and whatnot days. Then came the final event. It was a special get together where only a few of the original members went to. And it had been that way for years, but I didn't know that. My friend Chuck didn't know that. And we started questioning what was going on. We didn't understand what was happening, why this event was special to only have a few people. I won't go into why, but it made sense when they explained it. But at that point, Chuck and I were getting a bad reputation within the club uh, for being too vocal, for being too opinionated, for asking too many questions. And the hacks always had a saying, once a hack, always a hack. Kind of like, once a Marine, always a Marine, never an ex Marine. Well, apparently that isn't entirely true about the hacks because in late summer of 24, yeah, in late summer of 24, Chuck and I were voted out by the OG, by the original group, the old guys. Uh, I'm still friends with some of the hacks. I enjoyed my time there. There's no way I will ever go back because some of them probably never want to see my face again. Um, and since that point, I found out that it is more clicky than I thought it was and I had hoped it would be. And if you aren't part of the OG, you aren't really worthy of any extras, any consideration in being part of the decision making process. I don't know. But that's a quick and brief history of my time with the Cigar Hacks. I hold no grudges against anyone. I do still have questions that have never been answered, and like I said, I am friends with some of them still, but I won't go back. See you when I'm halfway through and give you the mid cigar update. Well, folks, I'm about halfway through here, and love the nose tingle right now. It's that low key, constant, just buzz. Pick up some of the sweetness, some of the spice in the retro hail. Mouthfeel has remained full and creamy. Uh, Definitely a little bit of that vanilla uh, taste. Definitely some spice. I can see why they call it pepper. And that good Connecticut earthiness. Uh, Construction on this thing has been wonderful. Absolutely flawless. Uh, Something I guess you expect from Drew Estate Undercrowns, but I still haven't found it to be super satisfying. I don't know. We'll see when we get to the end, and I'll be back for that final review. Folks, I'm down to the last little bit here, and first of all, the construction on this was, like I said, absolutely incredible. Only had to touch up a small canoe here at the end, but other than that, it's been great. Burned really well. Um, as for factors, nose feel at one point had jumped up a little, but now it's back to that smooth, low buzz. Still full and creamy on the mouthfeel. Flavor has turned mostly one dimensional with pepperiness. I'll be honest, this is not the best Connecticut I've had. I am actually somewhat disappointed. I would have expected better from Drew Estate, but I have to be honest, I'm not sure I'll ever have another one of these. I'm going to give it a 7.9 or a 79 on the Wild Will scale. Uh, yeah, I was mostly disappointed. I thought it could have been more complex and a little more flavorful. It turned a little, like I said, too peppery-ish, too harsh in the end here, but it is what it is, at least in my taste. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and light them if you got them.